Hi, Prem. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Really appreciate it. Well, I thought it'd be really great to for you to share your story about your UK job search with people in my network who are also navigating the UK job market. First, if you would just like to introduce yourself to my audience, tell them what job you're doing at the moment, where you're from, and what took you to the UK in the first place.
Sure. So accountant by profession and have done CFA level 2 as well recently. Of course, level 3 is onwards now. Work-wise, I am an auditor, an accountant, been in this profession for more than 8 years now. I started in 2014 back in Pakistan and in UK now, working with Deloitte UK, 4 years now. So yeah, I started back at home when there were little opportunities, and then I saw UK being a big market for me to explore my career ambitions, and I think it worked really well.
Yeah, so how long did it actually take you to secure your job offer in the UK?
It took me 4 to 5 months. It was not only UK for me. I was looking across multiple options, being Australia, being UK, Ireland, and some other countries.
Mhm.
I had a final competition between Australia and UK. I chose UK in the end, but it
Okay,
was a 2 months process for me.
yeah. And did you seek any support or help with your job search, or was it all yourself that did it?
So jobs coming to UK. Number one is you come on a study visa and you make your way into the UK. You start working with small firms, organizations, and then work your way up on skilled worker. The other one is you are somebody who is a qualified person and who has the experience. So UK has that visa, skilled worker, which they usually get people from abroad. So I was on that visa. I was a skilled auditor for 4 years, so there was not a big problem for me to really
Mm.
search a job. It was more of what opportunity I like and just go on that. But uh, the skilled worker visa is usually I would really recommend the individual. So somebody like in accounting and finance, there are tons of opportunities. Big banks, firms, these investment bank, all of them mostly offer this sponsorship as well. It's just you should be qualified and really experienced enough in your area to go for it.
Yeah, so having that experience really helped you kind of, yeah,
Because
get
if I summarize it, then somebody won't hire from abroad unless they have the experience. You're spending tons of money on sponsorship and stuff like that. So unless you bring the value, they won't hire you.
yeah, definitely. So, what advice would you give to people trying to get a job in accounting and finance from overseas?
Okay, so accounting and finance is a very big field right now. People try to feel like finance is just doing the reporting and stuff like that. It's not anymore. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a FP&A, there's an auditing, there's an accounting, there's a budgeting, there's a kind of a reporting, or a lot of different departments are there. Now, somebody who is outside, and I'll break into an auditing profession and then the other than auditing profession because I'm an auditor. So as an auditor, there are tons of opportunities around the world. If you're in the finance field, you have done the auditing or the consulting, there are tons of opportunities around the world. There's a shortage of the people in this profession uh, every time. So if you got 3 4 years of experience in your field, you are good into that. You are a team leader. There are always opportunities for you in lots of countries in the world. Now, when we talk about other fields in finance, being your typical reporting or managing credit or maybe something like that. Now, UK, as I said earlier, why would anybody hire you from abroad? Only because you have the skill set which they're missing here. Otherwise, they won't hire you or spend a lot of money on you.
Mhm.
So that and there can be other reasons like diversity and stuff like that, but it's a very limited market kind of a stuff. But generally, your skills will kind of bring you here. Now, in that case, if somebody reaches out to me, a typical finance professional in a accounting or reporting role for 2 or 3 years, and somebody tells me I want to come to UK, what's the option? Now, in that case, you are competing with somebody who's local in the industry, who has the experience of UK industry. So essentially, you are not able to compete in that case. 3 years there, 3 years here, it's very difficult to compete. Unless you got 5 years of experience, you are competing against 3 year person. That
Yeah.
way you can still so first recommendation is you can't come on the same level as I understand from market. You have to you have to come on a little lower level, compete against somebody less. just to make your way into the UK, and then of course you can go further.
Yeah. And what were the kind of the qualifications that you needed to get the job?
Okay, UK is quite interesting one in that I know it's quite different for all countries. They have different rules, but in UK there was no need of qualification, like in terms of a formal qualification. I'm a chartered accountant, but even if I know somebody who's not a qualified person, like just in the final stages, if they got the real good experience, they bring the value, they are still being hired. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of what you bring to the table. Uh, I mean, I can't say if you are just left with 8 papers, let's say, out of 20, then you can come. Of course, they won't hire you, probably 1, 2, 3 at max, just in the end stages. So that's from the accounting perspective. Finance professionals usually, I mean, people usually do the graduation as well at the beginning. So that's kind of one of the basic education we see. And
Yeah.
on top of that, you need the experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what was the main challenge that you faced when you were applying for jobs in the UK from overseas?
So that's an interesting one. So I am from a place where we don't speak English, right? It's not non-speaking English country. I mean, even when I started my first job in 2014, there was no concept of speaking in English in office. I went to Dubai on a secondment for 3 months. Then I realized I lacked that part. And if I want to go somewhere else in UK or something like that, I really need to work on that. Uh,
Yeah.
I did a lot of interviews across multiple locations, of course, Australia, UK, and stuff like that. So uh, it improved my interview related English, right?
Yeah.
Interview that don't have a lot of things. They have the standard questions, you prepare for them, etc. But when I came here, of course, I felt that I think that's really something. If somebody is not in kind of not from English speaking country, they should really work before.
Yeah.
I had this challenge when I came in UK. I felt that for first 2 months, then of course you adjust with that. And the second biggest problem, I think, what people feel is there is no guidance. Uh, right now, I'm sharing a lot, even through my YouTube, that people I never knew about when I was up. Somebody can get while sitting back at home. You don't know what's out there, what opportunities are there, how to apply for them, how to reach out to people on LinkedIn. Like a lot of people, and I can say myself in past, but not able to write properly to the relevant person, how to approach them, etc. So
Yeah.
all these skills really need. LinkedIn is a powerful platform, we all know, and it can help you get a job, but you need to learn about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the job that you ended up getting, where did you see that advertised?
So that was advertised on portals. I usually searched all the portals of the firms, companies
Okay.
which I liked, and then I used LinkedIn's power I knew about that very well. I had another few other offers before that through LinkedIn as well. So
Yeah.
I kind of reached. So that's a very good way on searching on LinkedIn. You
Mm.
don't search by the job, you search by the people who are posting the jobs and reach out to them. I use this technique, really worked well for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, and like you say, that kind of the approach and the etiquette and the whole cross-cultural communication thing comes into it
Yeah.
for foreign nationals, and that comes down to just they don't know certain things, which is a shame because they can have all the credentials, all the experience, but they write an email wrong or it doesn't, in a UK context, they've done something that's not appropriate, then yeah, it's a shame, that's
I mean, I receive messages, a lot of them, and sometimes somebody says, I need a job. Or like, you need
yeah,
to do research first. You need to do research first, which job, which domain, what are your capabilities? Is
yeah,
there any job on the portal? And then come to me. So I can't go and look into each profile, each CV and tell you what's there. That's
yeah,
your part, not mine. So
yeah.
I think that's
There's
the
that
problem.
accountability is a big thing, I think. Yeah. Um,
It's just putting efforts for yourself. It's not like somebody's going to give you anything.
exactly. Yes. No one is ever going to hand you a job. Even a recruiter is not going to do that. So yeah. Um, so why do you think it is so difficult for people to get jobs with sponsorship?
There are quite a few factors. Let's talk about industry and less of the concern. Industry wise, if I understand industry correctly, they prefer people with local experience, number one. If you don't have local experience, they want people who have the higher experience, who
Mhm.
have some specific skill set that they really need that they can't find here. Big firms or big companies have the power or have that ability to sponsor people from abroad, spend that money. But if we talk about a lot of smaller companies and medium companies, they don't want to spend that much money. Sponsorship license really costs a lot
Yeah.
at the start, and then when you sponsor each person, you are paying a lot of money, and then you usually and undertake the maintenance, etc. as well usually. So that's kind of a cost business has to incur. So can't expect small companies or medium companies to really sponsor too many people from abroad. Now, when it comes to large companies or large firms, etc., they sponsor, but large companies really want people who have the local experience most of times, or somebody who got really good experience, which they can't find here. So that's why it's difficult. I don't really see very young individuals working in a typical finance roles really coming to UK. I have seen people who have good experience and then moved. But good thing about auditing profession, which I am in, we really see a lot of big four firms across the world really keep hiring throughout the year, each year. So there's a lot of mobility in this field.
Yeah. And what is the first thing that you would advise someone to do who's looking for a job in the UK from overseas? What would you suggest that they do?
Okay, that's the person should really put some focus first on where they want to go. There are tons of companies in UK or somewhere else. You don't need to apply everywhere, or you can't apply everywhere. First, you need to make sure you know which companies you really want to work with, medium-sized, large-sized companies or firms, and then now after this video you may know there's a whole list of sponsorships for anybody who's watching. You can see if the firms are providing sponsorship or not, companies giving it or not. So that's where you number one know which companies to target for. Then of course you need to make sure your CV is proper. It's not I mean I've seen lots of fancy CVs, some weird emails, writing date of birth. Date of birth doesn't really work in UK, or pictures
Yeah.
CVs doesn't really work here. So there are a lot of things you need to watch out. You will recommend help that, get it reviewed by some of your senior. I mean, don't send all this to me. It's just get somebody there who's your senior, who knows you, etc. They can guide you a bit, and then don't. I mean, reach out to people. Of course, that's really helpful, but don't reach out without context. Go to the portals, make some research. This is the role I am. So today I received a message. I want a job in finance domain. No, I need a job, but I never posted anything. I'm not a recruiter. So the person said, I need a finance job. Like, I don't know any finance job. So the person says, I need some job in your company. I don't know what job you want, what's
Yeah.
your skill set, what you want to. So basically research your part, make sure you know what you want, and don't come with 5 to 6 jobs. I am good for this as well.
Yeah.
That's one thing. So it's just making sure what you want, and then approaching somebody with a clear message, and then of course talking with them what your interest. I mean, I have seen some good people who really ask me what these department actually do. Is it interesting? Will I be challenged? There are some people like that who really want to work on themselves, and there are some people who just want, is there any job? Just give it to me. So
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah, it's really interesting. What I like what you just said. Reach out, but don't reach out without context, and that's a really important piece and really
Yeah.
useful piece of advice. So, how did you know how to approach UK employers and recruiters, and also how to make sure that your CV was in the UK format? How did you know about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, number one, CV part. I made some CVs in the start. The standard format where everybody in my office typically use that. So everybody's CV was pretty much same. Then I got in touch with different people who were working in UK. I knew somebody, and they gave me advice. I, I mean, I had 6 people in the start. So they gave different suggestions, some useful, some not so useful. It still gave me some context of what I'm missing. Like I think I even put my local kind of identity number as well, because I was applying for both local and international jobs.
Yeah.
Then somebody was like, you don't need that, or maybe there was something else as well, which I had to remove. So there were
Yeah.
bits and pieces that were not right, or what I was saying was not right. So the first part is, of course, get it reviewed. Now, how do you really approach, etc.? So now there are two parts. I think that people in UK, mostly I have seen is, let's say if you are messaging 10, you are probably going to get a response from at least 3. That's what I have seen. It's not like blank. So don't get disappointed if you're reaching out to 5 people and they're not responding. Try reaching out to 20. You may get kind of a 4 or 5 response, which is good. It's not like you are just going. Nobody's responding to you. Now, I have seen partners of the firm responding to me as well, taking interest, reviewing my CV and send to HR as well. Probably I reached out to 20, 30 partners and I was applying for a job, probably 5 of them or 10 of them. And I noted the senior the person is, they respond well. Directors and partners of people actually respond really well to my messages. They saw my CV, it's really good, and they refer to the HR. So that happens. If you reach out to recruiters, they also sometimes respond, sometimes they don't. Depends on how busy they are. We all know they are really busy.
Yeah.
Message. Don't send hi, how are you to a partner, because the person might not respond. But send hello, hope you're well, and then type or write about yourself and send your CV as well. So that might help. And don't send 2 or 3 big paragraphs, because I can't read or somebody can't read this big in 2 minutes when they are
Yeah.
looking at your message. So
Yeah.
be clear, be concise, and when you reach to people, and eventually you will find opportunities. I have seen that many people, not only myself, but a lot of people.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, leading on from that, like, what do you think's the biggest downfalls and mistakes that people make when, foreign nationals, when they're applying for jobs in the UK? What do you think's the biggest
They
pitfall?
they reach out to people. They don't search. They don't research. Basically, I would think they don't research. They just want job. So
Yeah.
they just keep reaching out to people with hi, hello, just keep throwing CVs at different portals, different places, without really knowing what is needed in the CV, what person is looking for, how to reach with people. I think that's the part. And it's something I think I can personally blame on the education system. We don't really learn that part, the education system, to how to reach out to people.
Yeah.
So I blame the part. But anybody looking for, and it's good to have somebody you can talk to, or somebody you can who can mentor you before you really apply. I think that's the part people are missing. People are technically good. Most of them who apply
Yeah.
overseas, I think most of them are doing really well,
Yeah.
but not strong in the other sense.
Yeah. And so how, just where you're from initially in Pakistan, and the recruitment practices there, how, what was the main differences that you found when applying for jobs in the UK in comparison to applying for jobs in Pakistan?
So the process differs. Right here, it's more of the automated. In most of the big companies, your CV goes through systems and the process is there. One interview, second interview, third interview. All this is a structured way. Back home, it was a bit different. The time lag here is a bit higher because it has to go through different processes, tests, and all stuff. But back home, if you are good enough, okay, just come. So that's the first part. Now, second part is recruitment practices tend to be bit fairer here. I can't say 100% fairest, but a bit fairer here, because I think by law, if somebody is rejected, they have the right to ask for the feedback in UK. This is my understanding from the law. But back home, you don't have that right to ask for the feedback of rejection, why you're rejected. So that's
Yeah.
another thing. But overall, I think practices are very different. They are much more developed here. They are accountable. HR is even quite accountable for their actions, but back home it's quite different because we don't have those such laws which kind of regulate this profession or kind of industry very well.
Yeah.
So it's different.
So I guess, yeah, what's your your final piece of advice for people who are applying for jobs with sponsorship from abroad? What would be your final piece of advice for them?
For sponsorship, I would always say use recruitment agencies. Number one, go for LinkedIn. Number two, search what jobs people are posting overseas with the sponsorship. Because as I said, you are competing with a lot of people out there who have the local experience. You won't get the job unless you bring something good to the table that other person doesn't have, because somebody is going to spend a lot of money on you to bring you on board another country, whole new learning curve. So that's an investment for a company, and they won't make the investment on you unless you bring something good. So that's where I think you need to have experience. And what I've seen in UK industry is you have to be specialist most of the cases in big companies. And that's another great point I want to add is small companies, if we think, or medium-sized companies, one person probably runs the show, or maybe 4 persons runs the whole department together. But when we talk about big companies, they have a separate team, separate departments, and those are the companies who usually hire from abroad. because they have
Yeah.
the power, they have the money to really sponsor. So you can't be a very generic person, doing tax, finance, and all this stuff together. It's not valuable here.
Yeah.
In big companies, if you want to come, you need to be very specialist. And if you're a tax professional, you have done the tax kind of, let's say, VAT or sales tax, something like that. So that's value. But don't come, I have done the finance, tax, and all things together. That doesn't really help, I think, here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good point. Yeah. And like you say, especially IT, there's the IT shortage, but not only in the IT industry, also in like finance, fintech, people that can bring IT skills to the table for a finance role, that's something that is going to see them,
And if
give
you
them an
even think
advantage.
about IT, you have lots of, even in IT and finance, let's say there are a lot of systems, SAP, I think Oracle, Workday,
Yeah.
and even within those systems, there are a lot of different things to do.
Yeah.
So if I am saying that I'm an IT expert, IT finance expert, having SAP, Oracle, and everything, it means I don't have expertise in any of them. I just
Mhm.
know all of them.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good point. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but do you have like a favorite quote that you kind of apply to your career, or have you made up a quote yourself that you kind of go by? Any kind
I
of inspirational quotes?
I always used to think in past, or even do now, is I don't remember all three C's, but I definitely remember two C's that I used to do. One was commitment. I know if you are doing something, you really should be committed. And
Hmm.
second was consistency. Can't really win or can't really succeed without really doing it consistent.
Yeah.
I do the newsletter recently. I know if I leave it, people will run away. So that's the second C, and I have to remember the third C what it was. But I always used this thing in my mind when I was doing my ACA exams, because ACA exams were one of the toughest back home. It has a passing ratio of like 4 or 5%. So I think this was motivation for me that you
Mm.
have to do it, and these are the three things you have to do every time.
Yeah.
Uh, and third was clarity.
Yeah.
This
Clarity.
is
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. So it's like commitment. What was the
consistency
second?
and clarity.
Consistency and clarity. Yeah, really, if you could apply those to your job search and just the perseverance that's needed to get a job in another country, it is more difficult and it's more challenging, but it's so much more rewarding as well when you achieve it. I mean, it changes your whole life, so it's really, it's worth it. It's worth it if you
The
really
only
want
thing
to.
I'll say, rejections are really a part of this process. You will see sometimes some people get, like in last 1 year, I saw after Brexit and after COVID, a lot of openings came. Some people got a job in like first or second try, but historically, I know a lot of people have rejections before they
Yeah.
really got their first job. So overseas, so it's normal. Don't get disheartened. You got rejection, and now
Mm.
nobody
Yeah.
is looking at CV. And people think a lot of different things when they get rejected. So it's
Yeah.
just keep applying.
Yeah. And it's the keeping the mindset that, okay, it's not a rejection necessarily. It's just something to learn from that application that you can then improve on for the next one. So yeah, so well, thanks so much for your time. Just to ask if anyone wanted to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
So, especially those auditing or something in the technical kind of finance, can reach out to me, because I'm only able to help those really. I
Yep.
mean, you can come to me for general queries, of course, but I'm not a specialist person, I'm not a recruiter to give you a job. So if you are in that profession, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Basically, I have a YouTube channel as well I run, but everything you'll find in my profile is a click to connect link, and you will find everything over there.
Yeah, I can put a
You can
link to
put my
your.
LinkedIn in your, post or anything like that that you do, that people can reach out to me.
Yeah, I'll put a link to your YouTube channel, which is really informative, actually, and really helpful. So yeah, so that'll be really, really insightful for people in my network as well. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. I
All
really, really
right.
appreciate it. And congratulations on your job offer and your move to the UK.
All right.